Eighth grade was a very strange and uncomfortable time in my life, mostly due to what was done to me by these two girls I shared English class with. Their names were and should I censor those? I'm probably gonna censor those, but anyway, I didn't know them all too well at all. I couldn't have spoken more than a handful of words to either. Most of what I knew was just that they were kind of popular and were generally well liked and pretty nice. I knew one of them was in a lot of after school clubs and stuff, but me myself, I wasn't very popular. I was obsessed with video games. I didn't play any team sports. I thought they were like dumb and for jocks, so I got picked on for a lot for that. And it really surprised me when they started getting very flirtatious with me, very weirdly into me. They'd come up to me in the hall when we were waiting for the teacher to start class, and they'd like corner me against the wall. And as they were really uncomfortably close to me, they just drowned me in compliments, telling me that I was so cool and they really liked me. But it all just seemed so disingenuous to me at the time. Like they had these really creepy fake smiles on, and I was just it all just seemed so illogical. Like I've never directly interacted with either of them before. I was not in their league whatsoever. Why would I be getting hounded like this? What's up with all the attention, right? And even after expressing my discomfort, telling them like, "Hey, this is pretty fucking weird. Please go away." It just made them like more aggressive. They thrived on how uncomfortable it made me. And this weird form of bullying, it just got more and more distressing as I let it go on. It eventually did turn into sexual assault, even actually. The first time I remember them sexually assaulting me was before class one day when, again, they would corner me in the hallway as they always did, right at the end where I always sat. And they would just get super close up into my space. They'd touch me all over and smell me and comment on how I smelled, which was very uncomfortable and strange. They'd try to grab my ass, both of them multiple times, and they tried more and more every time I told them to stop. I'd have to swat their hands away, and it just made me feel like the asshole because I was hitting girls. And I just felt so unsafe at school, especially because it would just go on out in the open, not just in the hallway, but even in the classroom in front of the teachers and other students. They would just let it happen because it looked normal. It just looked like a guy talking with two girls. They're all smiley, and I would just like letting them do most of the talking just because I wanted them to go away. I just didn't want to start shit or instigate anything. And I remember one really just kind of strange coping mechanism I came up with was just internalizing the stuff they were telling me, thinking like, yeah, I was hot shit. I'm just being chased around by my fangirls or something. I'm like the Beatles in Hard Day's Night. Like this isn't just horrible or whatever. This is just an inconvenience. uh, the absolute worst part of it all was just that was like the last class of the day, and whatever horrible, uncomfortable stuff they did to me, I'd have to sit with as I was walking home in this big group of kids going the same way as me, and I would just have to hope that none of their friends were in that big group because I just didn't want it to grow and have eventually all their friends doing the same thing to me. That would just like I know at one point I did eventually have enough. Like I reached out to my parents and they agreed to tell the principal who I had a big meeting with, and at the time I really didn't even know what they were doing to me, so most of the gist of what I was saying was like, hey, these girls keep on flirting with me. I want to be left alone. And that was met with a lot of the stuff they say, like, oh, maybe they just like you. Da, da, da. And I just remember that pissing me off so much because that's not what was happening. And even looking back at it now, that's really fucked up to tell to a kid who's been pretty much assaulted by his classmates. But I think somehow I was able to get out that they were just touching me when I didn't want them to. Thus, the classic keep your hands to yourself rule was violated, and that got them in trouble ultimately. So they came up to me and said, we're sorry. I was like, yeah, it's cool, but I really don't know if it was cool, man. I still think about it to this day, obviously. And fuck. I don't know if it's like my point in making this film is mostly just to open up about my feelings towards the whole thing, which I've barely ever done in my life. And looking back on it now, I really think this is the most important event of my childhood that shaped who I am today. After I went to a different high school than both of them, everything just felt so neutral from there on. I never thought about what happened much. I was certainly less open than I was before, though, and I kept to myself a lot. But I was very wary around strangers, very reluctant to open up, especially women. I'd go as far as saying as I was afraid of women until about junior year of college, honestly. And it was when I finally just kind of like came out of that funk one day without even knowing why. I realized, like, I want to try dating, I want to have a relationship. And during those same thoughts, I was questioning myself, why do I only want that now as a 20-year-old dude instead of a fucking horny teenager, right? I mean, I could go on and ramble about this for a while, but I'm going to try to close it out here. I really wish I was never assaulted. Never really wish I didn't have to deal with this in my life. I really do. But am I unhappy with who I became because of it? I'm very proud of who I am now. I'm proud of how I've managed to heal from the trauma. I'm still an incredibly quiet person generally. It's tough to get me out of my shell. But, I think I'm okay with that. I suppose it's just part of being introverted, and like I have a great circle of people who care about me and love me despite my tough kind of exterior, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I do wonder if ever kind of think about back then like I do, or if it's just me. I really couldn't tell you.